Morning.
Ben, you're up early.
I am. I heard you banging around in the kitchen more than an hour ago.
I was fixing a big breakfast for Peter. He had an early class, so I decided to stay up and have my devotions.
Proverbs 31. She gets up while it is still dark. She provides food for her family and portions for her servant girls.
Family, yes. Servants, maybe next year. You want some coffee?
No, not right now. What are you writing?
Oh, this is my prayer list. Well, actually, it's more like a journal.
Is it private?
No.
Ah. Oh, I like this one. August 29th, 1981. Please give Lori wisdom regarding Russ and lead into her life the man you would have as her husband. If there ever was living proof God answers prayers, here I am.
Let's give the Lord the praise here.
Gladly. He's been carrying me through these past 2 months.
Did you talk to Lori last night?
I tried to, but she wouldn't tell me what had her so upset. Do me a favor, Terry. Write me down in that book. I'm afraid I'm losing my patience with her.
Losing patience.
I don't know, maybe I shouldn't even discuss it. I mean, we've been concerned about Lori for so long, I've been afraid to talk about my problems.
No, Ben. Don't hold it inside.
Lori's acting like a child. She's warm and friendly one minute, the next minute she's sullen and she's snapping at me. And it hurts me. I fight my reflexes to strike back at her. I love her so openly, and I tell her so much that I leave myself completely vulnerable. And Terry, when she doesn't respond, it hurts me deeply. Then I get so angry at myself knowing everything that Lori's been through. And here I am, worrying because I haven't had my fair share of sweet embraces and soft words. Here I am, griping because my desires aren't met. When she has suffered so much physically and emotionally, and I swing from indignation to guilt.
But Ben, that's how you feel. It's okay.
Yeah, but what about my patience? I'm so worried that one of these days I'm going to grab her and I'm afraid I'm going to lash out at her and just tell her that I cannot take it anymore.
Now, wait a minute. How can you tell me that God has carried you for months one minute and you're worried about your patience the next?
Because I'm afraid I'm going to stop letting him carry me. I'm afraid I'm going to let go of him. You know my temper. You know how I can get.
Doesn't God know it too?
Oh, of course he does.
You've confessed it to him.
Yes, repeatedly, but I don't feel any strength welling up inside me. Terry, I have never felt closer to the edge than I do right now. I've drained my reserves.
Listen to you. Your patience, your reserves, those should be drained. They're not what's gotten you this far anyway. Ben, you've got something that is better than your own strength right now. You've got a total, complete, daily acceptance of your own weaknesses. Now, hiding it inside or brooding about it or striking back at God because of it isn't going to help. He's not going to let your feeling of inadequacy last forever. He's going to give you strength again. But this time, it isn't going to be yours.
Nothing is certain except death, taxes, and now interruptions.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes, who are you?
Gene Rudland.
Didn't you call me just about a half an hour ago?
Yes,
And I told you I was busy.
but this is important. It's about Miriam. I ran into your mailman on the way up the walk.
Did you by any chance come over to apologize? Because I certainly don't need your sympathy.
Excuse me?
Well, you are Ion Redland's son, aren't you?
Oh, should I be sorry for that?
Well, letting Miriam stay with your mother was ill-advised at best.
Well, she had no place to go after she got out of the hospital.
That isn't true. She had this place and an offer from me to buy a place of her own.
Well, Mr. Carpenter, I can hardly apologize for my mother's charity.
I don't call luring Miriam into an unguarded, dangerous neighborhood as a charitable act.
Which is why she's missing, I suppose.
And I hold your mother personally accountable.
Well, like everything Scotty said. You're
What?
Scott Davidson. We used to work for WRD. He just filled me in with a little information about you is all.
Well, you certainly are a bundle of pleasant memories today, aren't you?
Mr. Carpenter, what do you say we drop the history and your opinions about my mother? I'm here for Miriam's sake.
Do you know where she is?
No, but I would like to help find her.
Now, what possible business can that be of yours?
Well, I work for the Kingsley Chronicle now, and I'd like to do a story on her disappearance.
Absolutely not.
Tell me, Lance, how do we do in the holiday rush?
It's great. It's funny, even our business picks up this time of year.
Everybody wants sugar plums at Christmas time, huh?
Yeah, but there's also a negative factor. We lost one of the girls. As you know, that also happens this time of year.
Who did we lose?
We lost Bobby. She called home on Christmas Eve to talk to her parents. He's like her old man died. I guess it's too much for her to handle.
Well, here's to Bobby. It's our first suicide this year.
Yeah, and Greta last March. Remember? She OD'd in that motel on I-32. I try to control him, Ron, but sometimes I get a little piggy. She deserved it.
Well, they waste their lives. But I want to make sure that our new man finds out about that.
New man, what are you talking about?
Vince Cardello, the resident dinosaur of our organization, has decided that we need a little helper around the house. His illegitimate son, Russ Weaver.
What is this, some kind of a joke?
Yeah, except I don't know who's playing it on who.
Wait, Vince's kid is gonna come work with us?
Yeah.
Since when?
Since he told me about it yesterday. And his son is coming over here today, and I have to break him in.
Oh, I don't believe this. Do you realize the risk that that's gonna put on us?
I see risks that you can't even imagine. It's not enough that we're skimming on Russ's old man, but we're holding the daughter of Vince's business partner for ransom. I can't help but appreciate the irony.
You're laughing about this.
No, I'm not. This whole thing is more serious than it sounds. So now we've got to clamp down. We can't let Weaver anywhere near the books. Vince wants his son to be in the loaning end of the business, and that's fine with me. So we've got to keep a tight leash on him.
Yeah? Well, who holds the leash?
I'm not going to be out on the streets collecting with him.
No, that stinks, Ron. I'm not gonna sit there and babysit the boss's son.
Don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. You've been that way with Blue. And speaking of which, I want you to find the idiot boy and take him aside and say that he's not to mention Miriam while Weaver's around.
Okay, we're all gonna have to watch what we say, what we do, where we go, what we show him, our comments to Vince. That's great. Maybe we ought to all work out a little code every time Rusty's around.
It's not going to be that bad.
Yeah, well, why not?
I don't think Junior's going to stay around all that long.
What do you mean, no article? It could help find her.
No. I absolutely forbid it.
Mr. Carpenter, this paper has very widespread circulation. Who knows? Some reader could have some kind of information about Miriam's whereabouts.
Then let the police do the legwork. It's their job and they do it best.
Fine, but let's give them all the help that we can. The story might get picked up by a wire service and go all over the country.
Mr. Redland, you not only will not write any article about Miriam, but you will be liable to a lawsuit if you do.
You can't sue me for reporting news.
Did it ever occur to you that the authorities might want this case kept secret so that they could give their detectives better cover?
Well, it's possible, but I would think that after 2 months they'd want all the help they could get.
Then think again.
I'll go to the police.
If you do, you'll face legal action.
Can't you see I'm trying to help find your daughter?
No, I don't. You know Miriam. She stayed with your mother. All you're trying to do is take advantage and capitalize on the inside story that you'll get by that very coincidence.
Even if that were the case, I would think you would want your daughter's picture all over the city.
Like mine?
Yours?
Yes. There I was on the front page of the Kingsley Chronicle at the opening of Hollister Mall, sprawled out on the speaker's platform, gasping for breath. What did you call that?
News, Mr. Carter.
I call it cheap sensationalism. Hardly a newspaper I need to help Miriam.
So why didn't you sue the paper then as well?
My heart attack was a public event. It was witnessed by hundreds of people. Miriam's disappearance, private matter, as delicate and guarded as a kidnapping.
Wait, how do you know she was kidnapped?
Mr. Redland, my daughter has been missing for 8 weeks. I hope that she's being held for ransom. That way I know she's alive. Are you going to try and talk me out of the only optimism that I've managed to salvage over these 8 weeks?
I'm very optimistic too, Mr. Carpenter. But I believe the real reason you want to keep this secret is for your own precious name in this community. You're guarding your own reputation at the expense of your own daughter.
Think what you like. But if one word about Miriam reaches the newsstands, you will have picked a legal fight you have no way at all of winning.
No. I see it this way. If the story doesn't get out, you stand a very good chance of never seeing your daughter again.
Russ Weaver?
Yeah.
Go.
Hello, Weaver. I'm Ron Washington.
Nice to meet you.
And this is Lance.
Lance.
Hey, you're on time.
Yeah, well, I'm always on time.
Pull up a seat. Can I, fix you a drink?
No, thanks. I usually stay away from this stuff.
Well, outside of the fact that you're prompt and you're sober, what can you tell me about yourself?
Well, where do you start? Vince is my father,
Yeah, the fact that you're here proves that, kiddo.
and I'm ready to go to work, do whatever you've got for me.
Tell me a little about your background, Weaver.
I thought this kind of business where men like to keep the secrets.
No, not from their bosses.
And him. Is he my boss, too?
Lance will be overseeing you a bit more directly than me. Just what is it that you have to hide?
As a matter of fact, nothing. I went to Kingsley College.
You.
Pre-med, played football.
Yeah? You did play football, huh?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. You play?
No, I was one of the punks that rumbled under the bleachers.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised you went to college.
I think Lance meant high school, but he's not the subject here. Pre-med, huh? That must have been a tough load.
It was, but I did pretty well. Especially in anatomy.
Anatomy?
Yeah.
You know, I learned a little about anatomy myself out in L.A.
Is that right?
Yeah, like take the ganglion. It's a little nerve just outside the brain. And if you hit somebody with an uppercut and drive it right into the ganglion, you could hurt somebody and you could never have an argument again with them.
Yeah, and tell him you didn't learn that in no anatomy class, Ron.
So what did you do with your pre-med degree?
I worked for a little while over at Kingsley General.
Kingsley General, huh? I think Lance had a few ties with them.
Yeah, I sent a lot of people over there.
What happened to your job there?
Yeah, it just didn't work out. Had to work for some stodgy old-timer. Didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, we know how rough that can be, right, Ron?
You're not going to tell me that you were fired from your position, are you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was fired. I improved their system. Held everybody accountable for their workload. Who appreciates that, right?
I can assure you, Weaver, that we appreciate it. Very much.
Wow, it's Super Cat.
Come on,
Yeah.
Blue. Don't hurt him, Blue.
Watch out for the back robber, Super Cat. Use your tail, Super Cat.
Come on, you're gonna scare him.
No. When his hair stands up like that, he's having fun.
He is not. Now give it back to me. Give it back.
Ooh.
Give me my cat. Come on. He needs a rest now because when you have so much fun with him, sometimes he doesn't come back for days.
Yeah.
Come on,
Wait, you want to read to me?
yeah, I think I'll read to you. I think maybe something different this time. Something, maybe something from the New Testament. How about that?
New, we got that new book?
No, it's not new. It's just, see, the Old Testament, that's before Jesus, and the New Testament is after Jesus, so I'll look through
Well,
here and see
read to me about the big guy.
Lou, I've read you that story about 5 times about Samson.
Samson,
Yes.
that's what, I love that.
Yeah, that's Samson. Well, now listen, you need to hear something else, so let me read you some stuff.
Miriam.
All right. Okay, here. Let's go back. Jesus. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" And they replied, "Some say John the Baptist, and others say Elijah, and still others, Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. But what about you?" he asked. "Who do you say I am?" And Simon Peter answered, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God."
Don't say that. No. Don't read me no more. I'm leaving.
Wait.
No.
Lou, just tell me.
No, I won't read no more.
Lou, what's the matter?
Speaking of being accountable for one's position, Lance will be your immediate supervisor. He oversees a number of ventures for me.
Such as?
Such as loans and drugs.
And there's a stable.
And that ain't horses.
Thank you.
You know, I'm kind of curious, Weaver. Most college grads would be nothing short of repulsed by this business.
Yeah, well, I'm not like most college grads. I grew up in the streets of Chicago. I worked my way through school.
That's very admirable. You know, I got where I am on my own, too. I ran some numbers out in L.A., then I peddled some dope. It was nothing heavy, but before you knew it, I met some really big people.
Like my father.
No, he really had nothing to do with it. I won my position by impressing some really important people. And they knew Vince needed some help out here in the Kingsley market, and they asked him to call me.
Funny, that's not quite the way he tells it.
Really, I'd be interested in hearing his version. We seldom talk as it is.
Really?
In fact, I was under the impression that he had only one son, until recently.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I'm sure that Vince tells you all you need to know.
That's no doubt. Now, help me out. Your brother's name is...
No. That's half-brother, right, Russie?
His name is Tony.
Tony! It seems that you got preferential treatment over it.
Yeah, well, Tony's a little bit younger than I am.
And he's legitimate.
Hey, you should be honored.
Why is that?
Well, Vince hardly ever talks about his personal affairs with his subordinates.
Well, that's a nice college word, isn't it, Lance?
College word, college sweater. Should I tell him about our initiation, Ron?
Yeah, tell him about it. It's something special we save for our preppy members.
Well, it's kind of crazy, Russ. We take their sweaters and we put them in a big pile so they can see them real good. And then we take them one by one and we rip off their varsity letters.
Well, I can see this is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun for me, pre-med. You don't mind if I call you pre-med, do you?
I guess. I don't really care about anything you do.
Don't be disrespectful, Russ. I'm your boss, but as I said, you'll answer immediately to Lance.
That's right.
In fact, he's going to take you out right now and introduce you to some of the people you're going to work with in the streets.
And you don't say a word. You just shut up and shake their hands.
Now, don't worry about Weaver. I think he's going to do just fine.
Thank you, Terry, for everything.
Sure. It was nice of Dr. Diedrichson to call this morning.
Yeah, it was a little reminder, as if I could forget the appointment on Friday.
What did he say when you mentioned Laurie's condition?
Only that it was natural. As far as her being so upset last night, he said not to worry about it. You know, as often as I've tried to comfort my own patients, I guess I should appreciate what Dr. Diedrichson is saying.
Ben, do you think it's possible that Laurie is remembering the night of the attack?
Why do you say that?
Well, last night, she didn't seem to react to anything that was happening or to anything that was being said.
Who can sort out all the things that are running through her mind?
You're right. Let's take the doctor's advice and not worry. So, are you going into the clinic today?
I'm really looking forward to it.
Dave's doing a good job there.
Oh, Dave loves it there. Which reminds me, I'm glad you mentioned that. I've got to remember to take a list to him of suggested guests for this grand opening.
Are you going to have one?
Well, we're pretty sure. We don't know when. But the clinic definitely needs some financial help.
Who's on the guest list?
Oh, some prominent Kingsley citizens, you know, people with charitable track records.
Afraid they're going to tell you what to do?
Not any more than the government. And when it comes to the moral issues of running a clinic, Dave and I definitely don't want any federal dictates.
Like abortion.
Yeah, for starters. You know what we should do? We should coordinate the opening with Gene's article.
Say, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Did he tell you what we have in mind?
Yeah, Dave did. About the first patient?
Yeah, some guy named Blue Nobles. We want to do a story on him, if he'll let us. It's sort of like framing your first dollar you ever earned, you know.
Does this first patient know about this?
No, not yet. He's got one more appointment, and we'll ask him then. We may even get a picture of him.
It sounds like you've got a pretty busy time ahead of you.
Yeah, we do. I just hope Lori's going to be all right. I still want to spend more time with her than I do with the clinic.
Well, everything will work out fine.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go up and get her out of bed. It's starting to get late.
Okay. Well, listen, ask her if she'd like some breakfast.
Right. Thank you, Terry, for everything. Is she down here?
What?
Lori, she's not up in her bedroom.
She's nowhere upstairs?
No, I looked everywhere. In your room, in Peter's room.
But she was in your room this morning. You saw her.
Well, she's not there now. I looked for a note, and there wasn't one. Terry, she's gone.
Join us each weekday for more of Another Life.